I just, I just, I just speak my peace, keep my peace.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to the Speak My Peace podcast. As always, I'm the grateful host, Greg Lacy. Like we always do about this time, I hope this episode reaches you all in good health, good wealth, and that you take care of yourself and your loved ones. If you're an avid listener of the Speak My Peace podcast, you know how much I hate not planning episodes, not having talk points for episodes, because that allows for me to just go on rants and we get lengthy episodes. So if this episode goes a little too long, I apologize in advance. But for this specific topic, I really couldn't formulate talk points in an order that I wanted to. I really couldn't get the agenda that I wanted. I just knew what I wanted to talk about. And so I'm a fire from the hip. As Lupe Fiasco says, form follows function, and if you function properly, things will form themselves. So let's hope that that gets accomplished here in this episode. 2 weeks ago, I celebrated a birthday, a milestone. Spent the night, went to dinner, spent the night with my family, and it allowed for me to just bask in where I am now, allowed for me to reflect upon my journey, and it was a great night. A week following that, I realized how much of a privilege that was. And I'm going to get into the privilege aspect of that, but it was a privilege. I went on a walk, so I'm still working from home. And so after lunch or before lunch, I go on walks within my community. It's about from one end to the other end, it was half a mile. So back and forth, it's a whole mile. So I do this very often just to get out, stretch my legs, get some fresh air, get some vitamin D, wherever the case it may be. I do these things quite often. A lot of times on these walks, I formulate topics for these episodes. I have conversation with myself, how certain episodes are going to go, and so on and so forth. So during a walk I took last week, I came up with the topic for this episode, which was realizing that me basking in where I am now is a privilege. I'm going to get to the privilege part, but I got to walk you all there. As I said, this is not planned, so I may be all over the place, but maybe I'm not. I speak often about my father being incarcerated when I was younger and how that affected me mentally, but never really got into it because I really couldn't get into it because there was a lot of things that I wasn't properly addressing, or a lot of things I didn't understand. And so prior to my father being incarcerated, that was a parent I was closest to. I was his first child, not only his first child, but his first boy was named after him, and his first biological kid. I was my mother's second child. Not to say my mother didn't love me or called me off to my father, but once, they separated, I spent a lot of time with my father just because of that male and that young boy and that father bond that we had, especially with me being interested in sports and things like that. So that was the parents naturally I was closer to. I was closer to him than I was to my mother. And so I spent a lot of time with him. And so when my father got incarcerated, it was a huge shift in my life, because not only is the parent being taken away from me, but the parent I was closer to is being taken away from me. And so now I'm here with a parent that I haven't really bonded with as much during these years, but this is the parent I'm with. And so when things like that happen, you tend to harbor certain feelings for the other parent, as far as missing the other parent and just wanting certain things to work out in your way. And I think a lot of times when those things don't go your way, especially for a young child, me being 6 years old, you tend to act out. And I did. I acted out in home, I acted out of home. And another thing that I realized during this walk was just how much my father being incarcerated played a role in this relationship with my mother. If my father had never been incarcerated, I don't think I would be as close with my mother today as I am today. I don't think that our relationship would be as strong. Growing up, our relationship wasn't as strong. Not to say that we hated each other or disliked each other, but we butted heads a lot. My mother has a strong personality, and I like to think that I don't have a stronger. She definitely has a stronger personality, but we both have strong personalities. So we butted heads a lot. I'm not someone who likes to follow rules. I'm not someone who likes to be given rules or to follow certain things. That's just not who I am. And so I think naturally, me growing up as a young child, as a teenager, as a young adult, we butted heads. We still butt heads to this day, but it's in good faith. a lot of my acting out was lashing out against certain things that I felt I didn't want to follow, the rules and standards she was setting. Acting out with my siblings, acting out in school and certain things like that. And I didn't really realize that until now, how big of a part that played. The reason why me being able to celebrate and bask into where I am now and the age I am is a privilege is because there may be some people who I've come across in my life that don't have the opportunity, that may be recovering from certain things that I may have caused. What I'm speaking of is when I say I acted out outside of the house, I like to consider myself, or I will consider myself as a genuine, nice kid growing up. I think that most adults that I've come across will say the same thing. I think my friends will say the same thing, even though it may be biased. I think generally I was a nice kid, but I had devious ways. I had certain things that I don't agree upon of me doing today that I was doing back then, but I didn't understand why I was doing it then. The reason why I say it was a privilege getting back into that is because there were certain incidents and certain people that I may have bullied growing up, thinking about those adolescent, teenage years, that I really didn't understand how it may have had a long-term effect on those people until today. There was this one kid, I don't remember his name. I remember what he looked like. I just don't remember anything about him. Like, I don't remember how I know the kid. I don't remember anything like that. And that just makes me even feel more bad about the situation to this day, because it's like, not only I may have caused trauma for the kid, I don't even have the decency of even knowing what the kid looked like or remembering the kid. But I may have caused such a horrible effect on his life that he probably for sure remembers me. Anyways, there was this kid. I guess before I even get into that, I got to get into just the environment. Growing up in the environment I grew up in, talking about people was normal. It took me growing up and interacting with people who don't come from environments that I don't come from to realize that it's not normal. Like, even in relationships, I can tell you different partners have told me that I say more negative things about them than I do positive things. It's not funny, but it's just like that being brought to me by numerous people. It's like, damn, it must be the truth, because I'm constantly hearing that. And I really attribute that to that's just how I communicate. That's the type of environment I grew up in. We talk about, like, I can think of being talked about by friends, family, whatever the case it may be, from the time that I could formulate and understand words. Whether that was talking about my head being big, whether that was talking about me being skinny. These are things that I can remember from like the earliest years of my life. So this was something that was normal. I didn't take any heed to it. It didn't cause me a long-term effect. And I think that is largely due to me just having tough skin. Not everybody have tough skin. Everybody is built different. Everybody genetics are different. Everybody chemicals in the hairs are different. So saying negative things to people may hold stronger weight for certain people than they do for other people. And for me, it didn't hold any weight. I just thought that was a normal thing to do. So going through middle school, there were certain people who were considered, there were certain things I would say were considered cool. And if you didn't check off those things, you weren't cool. You were quote unquote weird. Who are we as young 13-year-olds to determine that? I don't know, but that's just the type of environment that I was in, type of environment I grew up in. If you didn't dress a certain way, you didn't have name brand clothes, you didn't check off a box. If you didn't have name brand shoes, you didn't check off a box. You didn't walk with a little swag or something like that, you didn't check off a box. If you didn't play any sports, you didn't check off a box. If you talked properly, you didn't check any box. If you didn't listen to rap music, you didn't check off a box. And so many things that were toxic, and I hate using that word, but it's really the only word that came to my mind right now, that attributed to these things. So when you don't check off those boxes, you're considered an outsider, you're considered weird, and you get picked on. And so during these years, I took it upon myself to pick on people who didn't check off those boxes, which is weird because during middle school, I was going through a lot of things at home that I could be considered weird, but I checked off a lot of those boxes, and so I did it. So I wasn't considered weird, I should say. there was this kid, I don't remember his name again. I remember what he looked like. I don't remember what he looked like today. I don't remember how I came across him. But there was this kid that I constantly picked on. I could not even gonna lie, not gonna sugarcoat it. I was his bully. Along with some of my friends. Like in the friend group that I was in, me and my best friend were considered the leaders, or that's what the school officials considered us as leaders. Whenever we get in trouble as a group and they couldn't figure out who did it, me and my best friend was the first two names to come up because we were pinpointed as the leaders of the group, which I understand just because of the personalities me and my best friend had. And people tend to follow us, not even trying to be big-headed or anything like that. It's just, that's just naturally what happened. Anyway, getting back into that, when you have that type of mentality, I guess you can say mob mentality of like someone being a leader, someone having certain opinions, and other people also flocking on to those opinions and not having thoughts for themselves, that is toxic. Because when those thoughts are negative and it's pointed at someone negatively and you're attributing to someone negatively, you have more than one person following your message. It's like they're flocking to whatever you believe and flocking to whatever you're saying. We've seen it over recent years with number 45 when he was president. And so this kid to me was considered weird. Again, I don't remember how I accosted this kid, but I know I seen him constantly. Anyways, 8th grade, and I only remember it was 8th grade because I ended up getting caught, and I'll get into that as well. 8th grade year, I used to pick on this kid. I used to stay after school. He used to stay after school for the after-school program, and then we'll ride the bus home, the school bus, and we both got up at the same stop. So from school until drop-off, I can't remember any specific events. I can't remember any specific thing. I can't remember any intricate details about none of these events, but I know that I was picking on this kid because I can remember our interaction never been pleasant whenever we did have an interaction. So I had to have been picking on him if I can't remember any pleasant interactions. And so one day he must have had enough, and I think he barked back at me for just picking on him, and he just exploded. He probably said something, I can't remember what it was, but he said something to get a reaction out of me. And so we got off the bus, got off from the same stop, and I can remember me, him, and a couple of my friends walking, and me stopping the kid and like confronting him about what he said on the bus. I didn't beat him up, I didn't punch him, I did put my hands on him, but I didn't like assault him. Well, I guess you could say that was assault. And only reason why I even remember this is because one of my friends took a picture, going back into the snitching thing, not knowing you're snitching, but doing some of the things. One of my friends took a picture of the incident, and I remember them sending it to me on MySpace, and we had a good laugh about it, and everybody else had a good laugh about it. The kid went home, told his parents, as he should have, and his parents came to the school and reported it, as they should have. And me, back then, being a liar, I denied it. I'm still a liar to this day. But back then, I denied it, and then I guess that came to the school officials' attention that it had been posted on MySpace. This was back on MySpace day, and they found it on MySpace, showed the picture, and me being a liar, I was still denying it. But I ended up getting suspended. And so I can just imagine the turmoil that kid was going through all those times where you're being accosted by me, you've been accosted by my friends, and we don't have anything positive to say about you. We don't know you. We just know that you look like an outsider. You look weird. You don't speak like us. You don't talk like us. You don't have the same interests as we do. And so we're going to take it upon ourselves to make sure you feel like an outsider. During this walk, I don't remember, I'm going back into the walk that I had that formulated this episode. I don't remember what it was that came across my mind. I don't know how these ideas formulated, but it happened. During this walk, I realized, damn, I just celebrated a birthday, so happy about all these things that I've accomplished in my life, so happy about where I am. I have this podcast where I consider myself speaking to the people, encouraging people to take care of themselves, encouraging people to get the best out of themselves, and yet I may have caused trauma in some people's life. And I caused trauma probably in a lot of people's lives, but I know that kid specifically, I probably caused some trauma. I hope that I'm wrong and that kid is living an amazing life and a great life and he's bypassed it. But in the case that he hasn't, I feel bad. Like, not only was I doing all this, I don't even have the decency to remember the kid's name to try to amend and make things right. And that is really what tears me up inside. A lot of that acting out I'm speaking about, it was just, I can't say it was not from having guidance, because I had guidance. It was just, I guess I just wanted to do whatever I want to do. A lot of times in these situations where a parent is being taken away, or you grew up in a single parent household, or you're missing that dynamic of a two-parent household, especially young men, we do things to get attention from other people. We want to get laughs from other people, want to be liked by other people. And I can attribute a lot of what I was doing in home and out of home to wanting that. I think a large part, and I'm still trying to sort through it, still trying to find out, I think a large part of that relationship I had with my father and that deteriorating because he wasn't physically there, it caused such a large impact on my life because I was constantly wanting for something. I was wanting a certain reality that just wasn't happening, but I was harboring these feelings and these thoughts that this is going to happen at this time. And so when I was setting those time frames, or setting those milestones, or setting those pinpoint, years, and those things weren't happening what I expected them to happen, it caused some type of disappointment for me. Not only did it cause some disappointment, the disappointment caused me to act out. And so when I think about these formidable years and me acting out, 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, this is 6, 7 years, almost 10 years removed from the event. And that's me growing up in an environment to where it's not okay to express your feelings. It's because it's not okay and because it's taboo, not only is it not okay, we don't know how to do it. And so we do certain things that get attention. We do certain things that we don't know what we're doing. And it caused situations to where you had me bullying a kid that I can't even remember, and having this long-term effect. The reason why I say before that, I preface that with believing I was a good kid, because I genuinely believe I was a good kid. And I think most people can tell you that I was raised with the right morals, right ethics, and right values from my mother and my grandmother at the young age to know how to act when I was in public. But for whatever reason, I still found pockets to act out. I remember having a conversation with one of my friends a couple of years ago, and she just commended me for being so nice to her during those years, because she dealt with, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly the conversation, but she dealt with some insecurities, and there were a lot of my friends who were attributing to those insecurities. Like, again, speaking about young men and not having guidance, it was cool to pick on girls, whether you were flirting with them or whether you were just picking on them because you felt they weren't attractive to you. Not attractive, but not attractive to you. Not attractive to what your standards are or what someone told you your standards should be. And so we found those things to be cool to pick out, hey, your hair is short, or hey, your skin is dark, or hey, wherever the case may be, you're skinny, or hey, your booty is not big, wherever the case may be. We as young men, and I don't know how the interactions are with young kids now today, but I know coming up in my time, especially in middle school, we did those things. We picked on young women. We picked out their insecurities, and those things have long-term effect. But anyways, I had this conversation with my friend a couple years ago, and she commended me for being so nice to her, despite, everybody around me being mean to her. And it threw me off guard, because before I ever remember the interaction I had with this kid that I can't remember his name or anything like that, I know that there were other people aside from him, I should say, that I had negative interactions with. And so when she said that, it threw me so much off guard, because I don't remember, and that's just naturally who I am. Like, I'm a nice person. So I don't remember that I wasn't nice to her, because around that time that we were going to school together, which was middle school, I was a terrible person to a lot of people. And so, for one, that made me appreciate who I am and who I was, but it also let me reflect on, like, damn, just as me being nice to this person has such a long impact on her, me being mean to other people may have had a long impact on them. A lot of women that I'm friends with to this day that I went to middle school with, I attribute it to picking out certain insecurities they may have or insecurities they still may have today. A lot of these women grow on, and we see this in a lot of cases. You pick on girls at 12 years old and they go on and grow up, and at 30, 40 years old, they're some of the most beautiful women in the world. And I don't want to get in trouble. If my girlfriend is listening or watching this, I'm not saying this in a weird way, not saying that I'm into these women or anything like that. I'm just generally speaking of women, me picking out certain insecurities and thinking that because I'm not attracted to someone or someone is not attracted to me, that it's my right to pinpoint those things or exploit those things, because it comes back to bite us on our ass, especially for young men 20 years later, which I think in a lot of cases when I speak about me and my friends picking out insecurities for certain girls, a lot of these women grow to be beautiful young women. Some of these women are my friend, and I'm grateful that we have those friendships. But I know I attribute it to a lot of that, and I'm glad that it didn't have that long an effect to where they hate me or they don't want to interact with me or certain things like that, because if they did, I will understand. They would be in the right. The same way with this kid I don't remember. I don't know where he's at in life. I don't know where he lives. I don't know what he looks like. But I'm pretty sure he probably remembers me, because when you do certain things like that and you have these traumatic experiences and you have these long effects, you don't forget certain things. Like, these pictures live in your head. You have a photographic memory of these certain things because it caused such a negative effect on you. And so if I ever ran into this kid and I don't remember him, but he remembered me, he confronted me, and he beat me up. And let me say this, I'm still a prideful man. I don't think nobody could beat me up. But if he confronted me and we end up getting into a fight and he beat me up, that'll be the one fight that I'm not running back. Because I will understand why I got beat up in that instance. Like, this kid has been harboring these feelings for 2 decades. Like, that's an ass whooping I deserve, and I'm not going to rebut that. And I deserve this. I'm going to take my L on the chin, and I'm going to go on my life. But do I think he can beat me up? No. But I will understand. Not even joking, because this is a serious matter, but we don't really realize how much in the instance, we don't really realize how much of a long effect negative interactions with people, especially constant negative interactions with people, have on them and how it affects them. As I said, a lot of us are built different. The chemicals in our brains are different. Certain words to certain people affect them. Certain tones to certain people affect them. Certain conversations with certain people affect them. And it's just, we have to be mindful and cognizant of that. Again, like I said, I have this podcast and I'm speaking on improving ourselves. I'm speaking about how to treat people and certain things like this. And I can't help but think about who I was as a young teenager and how those interactions may have led to longer things. I'm knocking on wood. I'm grateful to be able to even celebrate the birthday that I did and the age I am now, because had my life had been cut short, my siblings would probably feel a certain way towards me just because of how terrible of a sibling I was to them when I was younger. Because again, here I am acting out. I may not like a certain thing a sibling say. I may like a certain thing a sibling do. And so what I want to do is I want to cause some type of mental or physical pain, or inflict some type of mental or physical pain upon them, because I feel like it's my right to do it. Why I feel like it was my right to do it, I don't know. But I can attribute that to probably just thinking that was just the right thing to do. And I'm grateful that I was able to grow old and improve those relationships with them and have relationships I have with them today, because it's important. I lost a sibling, and I know what it's like to not be able to get a second chance or get a second conversation with someone you may share the same last name with, someone you share a same parent with, someone you care about dearly. I know how that feels, and honestly, that tears me apart to know that one last conversation, one wrong conversation, could be the last conversation. And so I never want that for my siblings. I try to let them know as much as possible that I appreciate them, that I love them, or just have good interactions with them. My favorite quote by Jackie Robinson is, life is not important except the impact it leaves on others. So we have to remember that. Just have positive interactions with people. We are too old, we're too mature to be out here having negative interactions with people. And I know I'm going on this like sympathy tour and feeling bad for myself when I was younger, and there's certain people who I am not in good standing with to this day. This does not apply to y'all. We're going to carry whatever beef we have to the grave, and that's that. But for the people that in my past that I affected, I definitely feel remorse towards that, because I can't even think of what would cause me to inflict that pain on y'all, especially like a lifelong pain like bullying. get back to that Jackie Robinson quote, we have no reason to not have good interactions with people. I can't tell you how many times that I've been accosted by a customer service representative and they've told me or they appreciated me for saying thank you or saying hi or asking them how we're doing, because I was the first person to do that during the day. And a lot of times this is at a restaurant, this is at a Target, wherever the case may be, and it may be 8 o'clock at night. And that short conversation of, me said thank you carries that weight to where it put a smile on someone's face, but also makes them feel good. It makes them feel appreciated. I go to this Target often, and Target as a self-checkout, I usually use self-checkout. They have attendants by the self-checkouts because of people like me. I used to steal so much from Target and self-checkout, and I still do to this day. But don't snitch on me. I still do that to this day. But I go to this Target, and there's this black lady at the Target I go to that's always by the self-checkout at a certain time of the day when I go. And, she'll say thank you, and my response is always thank you, because you help, whether you help me or not, is just let them know that you're appreciated. Like, you're not just a robot. You're not just standing here. You don't have feelings. I'm not looking at you as lesser than me because you're working this job. And I think that's one thing we have to do more as humans in our mindsets and how we interact with people, which is leave good interactions with people, because you don't know how far those short interactions and those positive interactions can go. For me to be going into places at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock and saying certain things or simple things like thank you, simple things like hello, asking someone how they're doing, for them to be affected by that and for them to tell me, wow, thank you, you're the first person to say that all day, it's really unbelievable, because you got to think in these positions, they deal with at minimum 50 people a day. And for 49 other people to not say a certain thing to them, it's weird. It's honestly weird. It's like, great, y'all. But for me, it's second nature. This is going back to me believing that as a young child, despite everything I was doing, I was genuinely a good kid because of the morals and the ethics and the values that I was raised with. It's like, I know to speak to people when I walk in a room. I know to look someone in the eye when I'm shaking their hand. I know to say thank you if someone serves me. I know that I'm not higher than anyone. I know people serves many different gods and other deities and anything like that. I know that I'm not above anyone. I know that someone serves someone higher than me. I know that someone may appreciate someone higher than me. I know someone holds a certain role of more value in other people's lives. For me to understand that I'm not above anyone. I'm not in a certain point in my life, and to believe that I can talk down to someone or treat someone like they're lesser than me, because they're not. There's someone who's above me. There's someone who's higher than me, who've done more than me in my life. So for me to have the audacity to treat someone like they're lower than me, it's wild. And so as we get out of here, I just want to say, let's be good people in general. And if you have the opportunity to make amends with people you've done wrong by in the past, please do that, because you don't know how far that can go. I wish I had this opportunity with this kid, but again, I don't remember him. I don't know him or anything like that. And again, that's shitty that I don't remember that. But with that being said, I wish that I had the opportunity to do so, because I can only imagine how much pain I may have caused for a young kid. I can imagine how much trauma I may have caused for the young kid. I can imagine, me speaking about I'm going to therapy and, I'm improving and I'm doing good. I can imagine if, he's able to afford therapy and he's in therapy and he's trying to rid all these things and how long it takes for him to get rid of, or me picking on him, or friends picking on him, and maybe that carried over into high school, maybe that carried into college. I don't know, but I just hope that wherever that kid is out in this world, that he's doing well. Let's be good people. Let's treat people well. If you're out and about and you see a customer service rep and they speak to you, speak back. You're not above anyone. You're not greater than anyone. We all serve a higher being, whether that's a deity, whether that's a parent, whether that's a grandparent, whether that's a spouse, a significant other, whatever the case may be. You are not the most important person in that person's life. So you have no right to treat someone like they're scum of the earth. And that's that on that. As we get out of here, my what to watch for this week is, let's go with Creed. Creed is obviously a black-led movie. Black directing movie. So let's support our people this week. Creed is in theaters. Go out and see Creed. That is a what to watch for this week. That's the Speak More Peace podcast, y'all. I'm out.